I think that's enough.
So, we finally got a chance to officially take a look at Logan's face. For like a second, but I guess it counts. Part 2 of the latest update got released, and after months of anticipation and speculations, we finally know what Logan's deal is. Obviously, I was wrong. Not entirely, but mostly. So, what is his actual goal? Well, like we already predicted, he's no villain, and everything he does for the good of Sandrock. He is hot-headed though, and he did make some real mistakes, or so he believes. Now, to properly talk about this, I need to quickly go over all the important events in chronological order, so warning, spoilers. Okay, Howlett goes off on one of his ruin exploration trips and apparently gets infected with something weird. But he doesn't just stumble back into town sick. It's the people from the church who simply announce that Howlett's back and he is quarantined inside a temple and in a coma. At least that's how Logan describes it to us. He says that he was informed by Burgess. Anyway, people from the church, they don't let anyone visit Howlett, but they allow Fang to examine him. Unfortunately, Fang can't heal him. He only confirms it's an Age of Darkness virus. However, he also discovers bruising on the back of Howlett's head. Logan thinks this might be important and wants to get his father to another doctor, but Miguel refuses to let Howlett out of isolation, even though the man's clearly dying. So, Logan and Haru try to blow up a hole in the temple's wall in an attempt to get Howlett out, but something goes wrong, the explosion turns out stronger than they expected, and the entire wall comes crashing down right on top of poor Howlett. But just before he dies, Howlett manages to regain consciousness and warn Logan about Duvos' involvement in Sandrock. The warning is very unclear, however. After all, the man is dying. So, Logan and Haru flee the town, and Logan understandably suspects that Howlett's sickness, quarantine, and death were probably all the result of him learning something he shouldn't have. And because it's the church people that insisted on keeping him locked up, it seems that they're the guilty party. Logan and Haru feel rather helpless at this point, so they decide to do the only thing they can to get attention of Alliance authorities without risking anyone's life. They become bandits. As loud and as flashy as possible. The train robbery is just a publicity stunt. They just want to be noticed. Unbeknownst to them, the Alliance is already paying attention. They already intercepted a telegram sent out from Sandrock to Duvos that mentions one Tiger executing a plan in Sandrock. They assume this Tiger has to be a Duvos spy, so they send in their own agent, Grace, to be on the lookout for said spy. After Logan and Haru make enough noise, Grace is instructed to investigate, and it turns out they're basically after the same thing, so they join forces. Then 2 more telegrams are intercepted, both mention water. The water tower is ready, and the water in town is successfully hidden. So, Logan goes to investigate the tower, and that's when he is spotted by none other than Penn, who immediately attacks. The thing is, Penn has a powerful relic weapon that nobody knows about. And actually, it's him who destroys the water tower. He aims at Logan and apparently misses. Well, with the water tower sadly out of the picture, Logan's gang turns their attention to the other message, and that's the reason for them capturing Matilda and asking her about water. Okay, so there's more to this story, but let's just focus on what I mentioned so far. The whole situation is sus as hell. The bruising on Howlett's head, his coma, even his death, and the church indeed doesn't look good on all this. Miguel insisting on keeping a dying man in isolation without any chance for better help. The explosion in the temple being much stronger than it should. Penn having a frigging relic weapon of all things. So, right now the most suspicious people are, naturally, Penn and Miguel. Also Jan, for several reasons, but let's leave him out of this for now, also for several reasons. I mean, he's extremely likely to be doing something illegal, and he will be exposed. Nobody likes him, he's a terrible commissioner, and when push comes to shove, he seems to be incredibly incompetent as a builder, while at the same time trying to pose as an expert. I'm sure we're gonna be able to get rid of him at some point. Of course, I'm not saying that 100% he is not a spy, but I just want to focus on the church for now. So, we have the obviously suspicious pair, Miguel and Pen. Well, the interesting thing is that Pen's first name in the Chinese version of the game is Hu, which means tiger. But it's not something an English-speaking player would know, at least not without some digging. I have no idea what they actually did with the spy in the Chinese version, so I'm not gonna go there at all. I just wanted to mention it as an interesting detail. Anyway, Pen does have a relic weapon. And this level of technology is usually associated with Duvos, but not exclusive to Duvos. If we assume that Pen is really as vain and stupid as he seems, he wouldn't be a very good spy, but he is definitely fishy. Okay, nobody really suspects the goody two-shoes Burgess, but if I remember correctly, he was there when the water tower was destroyed, so he must have seen something. He must know that it wasn't Logan who did this. And yet, he said nothing. Burgess, who makes a point of always being truthful, Burgess who has no imagination to speak of, that's suspicious, right? Unless he's exactly as naive as he seems. If that's the case, Pen trying to hide the fact that he made a mistake, or trying to hide the fact that he is a Duvos spy, could have easily talked poor Burgess into believing literally anything. Even if Burgess actually saw the whole thing. I mean, Bronco almost convinced Burgess that he's a bad guy. There's also Danby, but there's simply not enough information about her, so I've got nothing to say about her yet. Then there's Pastor Miguel. Miguel is what can only be described as almost a religious fanatic. So it seems that as a follower of the Church of the Light, he would be against technology, right? But actually, he is not. There is this rather creepy quest where he asks the builder to help him with the garden, and he uses removing the weeds and planting flowers as a metaphor for his frankly blood-curdling thoughts. He hates how undisciplined and unruly the people of Sandrock are. He blames the town's state on the lack of proper management. And he says, and I quote, "To maintain a delightful and healthy garden, we must tear out the weeds to replace them with something beautiful. Those unwanted, uncaring, untoward must be torn asunder and replaced with purity." And then he explicitly says he doesn't believe that it was the technology that caused the day of calamity. He thinks it was lack of discipline, organization, and unity. Well, Duvos is a major country. Unlike the Alliance of Free Cities, it's unified and apparently very orderly. Could this be enough for Miguel to willingly work with them? Well, they are definitely not peaceful, which clearly stands in opposition to the church's teachings and most likely to Miguel's own beliefs. But we also know that he is disillusioned and bitter, and that he can get very angry. Is that enough? Would he be able to help Duvos just because he feels helpless and unhappy about how chaotic Sandrock turned out to be? Maybe, maybe not. All we know is that he is gloomy, serious, strict, and has a set of beliefs that no one in Sandrock seems to share, or even understand, including Matilda. But I don't think he's evil, just maybe a bit fed up. And if he is really involved, I think he is being tricked. And I don't really see him as an evil mastermind. He honestly believes that strict discipline is better for everyone. Unless the fact that his looks were clearly based on Michael Jackson is supposed to be a hint, and he is secretly really, really bad. Anyway, jokes aside, that little conversation with Miguel was really ominous and made me really uneasy, even if he didn't really mean much by it. Okay, and then there's Matilda. Many people already ruled her out as a suspect, but we discussed her case on Discord and decided she would be a very good candidate for a twist villain. She is a very friendly, motherly figure, but there are hints that she is not as warm and fluffy and actually likes taking the credit and being in the position of power, like when she's cutting in when Trudy is speaking. Granted, Trudy is such a pushover that sometimes what Matilda does seems like an act of mercy, but not always. Oh no. However, just as we start to suspect her, Logan kidnaps her and the situation changes completely because it's Miguel who goes ballistic, showing his really creepy angry side. Matilda remains composed and dignified and seems worried that maybe Logan has a point. And on top of that, she orders a full-blown investigation into the potential water theft. She seems genuinely concerned, so we immediately assume that she has successfully proved that she's not a villain. But maybe she can afford to be so sincere and transparent because she knows that the investigation will reveal nothing. What if water and water tower in the intercepted messages are just code words and really have nothing to do with actual water? Well, it's just an example, but I really don't get why Grace, who is an intelligence operative, insists on taking the messages literally and doesn't even consider another possibility. But even if we take the messages at face value, they could be just a misdirection or a trick to draw the Alliance spy out. As in, let's write something that seems to pose a very clear threat to Sandrock and see who starts snooping around. If that's the case, then 1. They already know there is someone snooping around. 2. Grace is lucky to have Logan who can do all the loud stuff without revealing his source. Anyway, now that Duvos is 100% sure someone reads those messages, they can easily manipulate the whole town and send the Alliance spy on wild goose chases while they're doing something completely different. And Matilda and her investigation made sure people were focused on the water theft and didn't pay attention to much else. Unfortunately, at this point, Duvos can be doing literally anything. If the messages are coded though, then water tower is ready could mean, say, a certain location has been secured, and water is successfully hidden could mean that something has been placed in the previously mentioned secure location. What has been placed, you ask? I have no idea. Machines, soldiers, bombs, pink llamas, literally anything. But maybe I'm just overthinking again. I guess time will tell. Now, enough with the wild speculations, and let's take a look at Logan. After all, apart from the massive info dump, he is the most important element of the update. Well, he's basically exactly as the townspeople described him. Straightforward, honest, somewhat impatient and hot-headed, but solid and caring. A rather simple guy, and no matter what he looks like, he is not mysterious. He's like this big, slightly awkward teddy bear, a bit too sexy for his own good. Cute? Sure. Mysterious? Not with that voice and personality, although he does insist on wearing a mask because...
This is the way.
No, actually, he says this.
I won't be able to face the world until my pa's at peace.
Well, it's very poetic for someone as practical as Logan, but then again, it suits him surprisingly well. And if you were one of those wondering whether Logan will be romanceable, well, we can confess to him right there and then.
Huh? But we've only just... Let's save anything like that for after the mission.
And hey, it's not a no. Of course, now Haru's fan club is also growing, and Pathia should know by now that if they give us an inch, we will demand a mile. For now, we're just left with some more questions. Did Howlett really discover something that got him killed? What was the bruising on his head? Did someone deliberately make the temple explosion bigger by tampering with Haru's bombs or storing explosives on the other side of the wall, or, say, using a relic weapon? Who is the Duvos spy, if anyone? And so on and so forth. So, what do you think of Logan, now that we finally got a chance to talk to him? What do you think about the huge story reveal? If you want, leave a comment and share your thoughts. And I think I'm done talking for today. Sorry it was so chaotic. Thanks a lot for watching, and I see you in the next one. Take care.